As I mentioned earlier in part one, that as a result of this book here, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry, which was published in 1985 and coordinated with what Imam Muhammad, something he addressed on the 1985 10-year anniversary. And this book came out shortly after that, and that, again, most certainly hearing him touch on that Freemasonry and African Americans, etc., pushed me on, gave me a sense that I'm definitely on the right track in that area. Now, real quick, as a result of this book here, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry, as we say, which was published in 1985. I've shown it before. Okay, we received a letter from the Phylaxis Society, the research branch of the Prince Hall Masonry, and a book review had been done by their book reviewer. And this is the quick letter that we received May 30th, 1986, after they had read the book. It say, Dear Sir, I recently read your very interesting book, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry. I am a minister in the African American Methodist Episcopal Church and an active Prince Hall Freemason. Thus, I do not share your viewpoint. However, I was impressed by your research and found your book very enjoyable reading. And then just to skip down to the main point, he say, I have been asked by our president, and this is in part one, to invite you to their convention in Washington, D.C. sometime in March. He has the 5th, but I think it was the 6th. And I responded positively, and we went to that. Yes, and real quickly, as I showed, the president responded to us saying, I have been informed by Reverend Uzzle that you accepted our invitation to come to our annual session in Washington, D.C. in March, and being a panel on the panel with Reverend Uzzle, Brother Uzzle, who did the book review on my book, etc., right? So real quickly, not too much time, just wanting to go. Now, after we went and we had the dialogue, and I've showed a clip of it in one part, it appeared in the Muslim Journal.
In Europe, to get in it. This is history. Am I right or wrong? This is history. Black people appealed to the white order of the Shriners and Masons to get in, to come into that secret order. They didn't accept them, just like at first the church didn't accept them. So determined to get in, a black man, as a spokesman for the rest of the blacks that wanted to get in the order, he wrote to the order, the home-based order in Europe, and asked them to give him a charter to practice the same secret doctrine in these United States. And they granted the charter to him to practice that secret doctrine in these United States.
So now, of course, after hearing that, while I'm in the process of writing the book, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry, how, I felt I was in coordination with what the Imam was saying, and being helpful. So that gave me even greater motivation to continue on the path that we were on. And this was going on before I met the Imam in 1987. So this is 1985 when that occurred. And then, as I say, in 1987, a couple of years after that, we're invited to have a dialogue with the Prince Hall Freemasons. And after that dialogue, of course, I sent that information to Imam W.D. Muhammad, April 8th, 1987. We send this, as you see, Brother Imam I am a author of the book Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry. He said, I'm writing you just to inform you that as a result of my book, which was based on the Quran and the Sunnah and much of the wisdom that you have shared with us, with the Muslim community over the last 12, 13 years. I was invited to speak at the Masonic workshop, etc. And I said, I sent you a copy of the video, the book, and a letter from the Masons concerning the outcome of the workshop. I hope you will get a chance to watch the video and send me your comments. Brother Imam, keep up the good work that you are doing. I pray that Allah will continue to bless you with more insight into the Quran, peace and good health. Good health. Assalamu alaikum. As you can see, this was April, the date April 8th, 1987.
I'd like to mention that my intent in writing the book was not to attack principal Masons. I was dealing with concepts, ideologies, philosophy. I'd also like to thank Brother Ugly here for his book review that he's done, an extensive book review, which I really appreciate. And I've learned quite a few things in his book review. And thank you. Okay. For participating in this workshop with me also, or allowing me to participate in the workshop with him. So from that point, I'd like to move on and tell you a little something about why I wrote the book. I'm a Muslim, as you know, and as a Muslim, we have an obligation. We have an obligation to propagate truth. We have an obligation to reach out to our fellow brothers and sisters with what we see as truth and what we see as maybe helpful for our brothers and sisters. We are required as Muslims to seek knowledge from cradle to grave. Our prophet is the prophet of Islam, who was born in Mecca approximately 1,400 years ago and died in Medina, the one to whom the Holy Quran was revealed. I want to make that especially clear because I know there's been much propaganda here in this society over the years, over 50 years approximately, where perhaps there might have been some misconception about who the prophet of Islam is, and also about the teachings of Islam. Islam teaches a universal brotherhood of all men, black, white, red, brown, regardless of your color, regardless of your national origin, regardless of your persuasion. Islam teaches that. That is the base of Islam, a universal brotherhood. Therefore, when a Muslim really understands his religion, he comes into a universal purpose, a universal aim. He does not discriminate on the basis of color. I want to emphasize that. Anyone can become a Muslim. It's not just for whites, it's not just for blacks, it's not just for Arabs. Any human being. Let me give you a few terms. Islam is defined as peace and submission. Islam is defined as peace and submission. God tells us in the Quran that he established his religion. It is called Din al-Fitr, the religion of the origin, which means that it is the religion of the nature. It is the nature in man to submit, whether it's willingly or unwillingly. There are certain involuntary actions within our body which have to submit to the will established by God. And that brings us into being a Muslim. A Muslim speaks to the nature. It doesn't necessarily speak. It speaks to the nature of man to submit. Muslim is one who submits to the will of the Creator, what he has established in his creation, to submit. That's what Muslim means, one who submits. It's a nature, so it's not something foreign from us. So if I was to say the sun is a Muslim, the stars are Muslim, we're all here are Muslims, it means that we obey the rules, the regulations of God, willingly or unwillingly. There are certain things we must obey and submit to, generally speaking. Now, once one accepts Islam, becomes conscious of that, then we move to another level. Let me just give you the beliefs and principles of Islam. Now, again, this is on my book, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemason, and this is in the book, okay, what I'm saying. Islam is based on 5 fundamental principles. The first is belief in the one creator, Allah. And the Quran cites it, regardless of what name you call him, he is the creator, that divine power, that divine force. So belief in Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. That Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. The second pillar or principle is prayer. The third one is charity. The fourth one is fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. And the fifth one is making pilgrimage for Hajj to Mecca, if one can financially do so and if one's health will allow him to do so. These are the basis of the religion. I have an illustration here. I'm not the best artist, so I tried to get a young man to draw something for me, but this attempt, when we say Islam is based on 5 pillars, it's something very important that I must mention here. This is the essential pillar, the belief in the one God, which means then that if one neglects these other pillars, that the tent does not necessarily fall. It becomes narrow, it falls in, but it doesn't fall out or fall down. So that is what upholds it. And I'm sure many of you here are Christians and have read the Bible, and I'd just like to draw a quick analogy. When it says that David reached in the water and pulled out 5 smooth stones. Well, he only used 1 stone to slay Goliath. And we can draw a parallel to see that as representing the belief in the one creator. The belief in the one creator dispels all disunity. It dispels all myth, all confusion. The belief in the one God. Now, we may call them different names, etc. But us as religious people, God-conscious people, can unite on that basis. What we call in Islam, taqwa. Taqwa. And the oneness is tawheed. Tawheed means oneness, but not a...
So the dialogue after that, it was put in the Muslim Journal. The story was covered in the Muslim Journal. Now, mind you, I'm only 30 years old at that time with the first dialogue. The second one was in '89. I was 32 years old, and actually, that's actually 32 years now from me being 64. The one that happened, the second dialogue, which was in '89. So as you can see, as we pointed out before, it was covered in Muslim Journal, front page of Muslim Journal. And as you know, as I pointed out, I sent the copy to Imam Muhammad of the complete dialogue, and he also had the book, etc. Okay, and you can see this took place in Washington, D.C. Even though Muhammad Ali is on the front page at all, he wasn't there. And this was also during Ramadan, as you'll be able to see on the Muslim Journal. Okay, so after that, me and the Imam met in August of 1987. And I might have put that out before. I'll give you, let you see hear our brief conversation.
I'll leave at that time, you know. But brother Imam, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the time. And I pray Allah to bless you with success and good health and bless you with great understanding. I know you have great understanding, and I'm just overwhelmed. But from my heart, I really want to try to make a contribution to the advancement of Islam here in America. And I really want to do my best. And I appreciate any advice. Yes,
it is. There's my desire to have this opportunity to meet you in person. And as I said, the presentation that you made, in my opinion, is very, very impressive. And I do believe that you are not given your good wishes to the secret orders, but you're trying to bring them to question the value of secrecy, the legitimacy of secrecy as they practice it. And I think to that extent you're serving the religion, you're serving the interests of the Muslims, but as I said, because of this very sensitive issue of secrecy, masonry, and be truthful with you, I don't know if we have any grounds to work against these secret orders, unless they're practicing something that is harm and detriment to the society of man. I don't think we have grounds to work against them or to work for the end termination of these kind of orders. I don't know if we have anything to go upon, but I do know of a lot of good that many of them are doing, like the Masons, the Lions Club, those people like that. They do a lot of good, but at the same time, we can't, as Muslims, we can't join them in secrecy. We can't join them in secrecy unless it is the kind of secrecy that is approved by the Word of God and Quran for Muslims, And what Allah said in the Quran, that most secret meetings for secrecy are no good. And the only ones that are worthy of recognition, good recognition, are those where men come together to promote good in society, to promote righteousness in society, to promote fair dealing between men. So that tells us that we can have secret meetings, but our secret meetings must have nothing in them that would be wrong, unfair for men, for any society, or for any people. The intent has to be good, and our meeting together has to be for the purpose of advancing good, for the benefit of all people. So I think some of these secret orders do feel that they qualify under that kind of description, So that's why I say it's very touchy for me. Okay. And I'm saying this to you in privacy. Yes, okay. Yes, right. Yes, okay. I'm saying this to you. I would know. Yeah. All right. But you can publish that you met with me. Okay. And, I appreciate that. And I wish you well. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I look forward to you touching it. Thank you very much. And I'm saying this to you in privacy. Yes, okay. Right. Yes, okay. I'm saying this to you in privacy. All right. But you can publish that you met with me. Okay. And I appreciate that. And I wish you well. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much.
So now you can probably imagine how I feel having met with the Imam and him giving me some advice and just the opportunity to have met with him, our leader. I'm in my 30s, and to meet with him and for him to give me some advice, but also to say, as you heard, that he was very impressed with the presentation and he wished me well. So I took out an ad. We made this video available. Naturally you had to go through a process, the way things was, to make sure it was okay. And so October 2nd, 1987, I ran this ad in the Muslim Journal. I ran it several times, and moving forward. And at one point, the Imam, we met again, in California, and he, just emphasized that he would support me indirectly and for me to listen to his lectures. And he'll be supporting me that way. As you say, it was kind of touchy, but he wanted me to continue to handle this. In fact, at one point, and I can show it to you, they asked if the Imam Muhammad could come and address the imperial potentate of the Shriners. And the Imam, I brought that to his attention, and he told me to go ahead and handle that, and just to keep him informed, which I did. Now here, again, another ad in the Muslim Journal. That one was October 2nd, this October 9th. Okay, the dialogue, again, with the quote from Imam W.D. Muhammad. And as you heard, I appreciated that. And he said that and you can listen to it, it was his desire to meet me in person. And I most certainly appreciated that. But I'm just showing we supported the Imam publicly, privately. He encouraged me to stay independent and doing what we were doing, etc. This is laminated, so you see the flash. So we ran the ad a few times. Now here's November 6th of 1987. We ran the ad again. Now I want to point something important out here. Now, as you can see, as the Imam said, listen to his lectures and moving from there, all that's 1987. Now what you see, and you may not have noticed it at the time, and again, understand the Imam, as I say, coming from the Nation of Islam, mentions Freemasonry, etc. Imam Muhammad, Jane Jacob, Metaphysics, other times, he's mentioned this, and like I say, for him to point this out concerning Freemasonry and how the Europeans of America and others was reading Quran and the knowledge of Islam in secrecy. And we know our people came into that order. But real quick, what comes out now, as I showed you my ad in October, Imam Muhammad speaks at 2 Masonic places to our community. And we know, like I say, I'm supporting him, and he's supporting me support him. So so he's doing this, and I'm helping out. Okay, so now after our meeting, which we know he had did this before, look what is put on the back of the Muslim Journal. Imam W.D. Muhammad, November 8th. My ad was the 9th. Islamic formula. He speaks at the Masonic Temple there in Cleveland, Ohio, on the 8th. And this runs on the back of the Muslim Journal. So you know, of course, it catches my attention if no one else, right? And then the following week, and I was there at this, he spoke at the Los Angeles Scottish Rite Auditorium, which is the big Masonic hall in California. Okay, so this is how we are handling this publicly and behind the scenes somewhat, at least me listening to him, and I'm moving on with what I have to do in that particular area. Now, in that same year, 1987, I get a letter from Turkey. So I'm looking at 87. We'll move forward. This is going international, right? So you see November 5th, 1987. This is from Turkey, right? The lodge in Turkey. And it say, Dear Brother Mustafa El-Amin, I read this before, but he say, further to my letter of June 20th, 1987, I wish to inform you that I just finished reading your most interesting book, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry. It was most interesting for me to see the approach made to our religion. Now, he's a Muslim in Turkey, part of the lodge, and the parallel which you make between the Quran and some Scottish Rite degrees. Time's sake, I'll just stroll it down. Won't be able to read it all. Thanking you again for your kindness and remain with my best wishes. Okay, time-wise. But anyway, this is what's going on in 87. And of course, I'm motivated even more after meeting with the Imam. He say, stay in touch, and we do exactly that. Okay, now, in between that time, 87, now we go into 87, 88. And now, as the year goes on, now something interesting happens, and I keep the Imam informed. I get a letter from the King Faisal Center for Research and Islamic Studies from Saudi Arabia. I get this letter here, and this is 1988. And as you can see, they're requesting, we feel pleasure to request subscription to the following videotapes: the Muslim Mason Dialogue. And I had been going from there, giving lectures on this, Masonic symbolism, Christianity, Masonic Egyptian connection, etc. Okay, so you see this comes from Saudi Arabia, and this is the original letter that I have. Dr. Zaid al-Hussein, right? The Director General. So this has gone international, right? Now, what's interesting about this letter here is some years ago, Saudi Arabia is on record, had banned the Shriners from being in Saudi Arabia. And me and Imam, we talked briefly about that as well. But on the 10th anniversary, you'll hear the Imam mention that. So this was very interesting to receive this from Saudi Arabia for that video, that dialogue, and the others in the book, Al-Islam, Christianity, and Freemasonry.
That's why here recently, the Supreme Council of Saudi Arabia put the Shriners out of Arabia. They're not there anymore. So you go.
Now, a year later, I write this book here, Freemasonry, Ancient Egypt, and the Islamic Destiny. Understand, all of this is dawah and is going international. I wrote this book in 1988, and believe it or not, the mine was still running, and we wrote this book, Abraham Legacy, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Reality. And of course, we gave these books to Imam Muhammad, and I remember I gave him Abraham, and I said, what did you think of it? He said, Brother Mustafa, I like all of your work. He said, if I ever have a problem with anything you're doing, I know how to get in touch with you. And that's been our relationship the whole time. Now, when this book came out, then there was a second dialogue which took place in 89. But I want to show you a few other things that developed along that time. Those books was written in 1988, but then there was a second dialogue. As you can see, it was carried in Muslim Journal. That took place in 1989. And that was in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, Prince Hall Freemasons and Muslims established dialogue. That's March also. Now, Imam Muhammad lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. He was married and he lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. In fact, his son Muhammad, mother is they're from Little Rock, Arkansas, and he's born around the same time my children were born. I think it's July 1990. So Imam Muhammad was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, and something interesting about Little Rock, Arkansas, too, number of things. I think the first Ramadan session Imam Muhammad had before he opened it up with leaders, before he opened it up to the overall community, was in Little Rock, Arkansas. So then we had the dialogue there, which you can see in part 1, this clip. Quickly, a few things happened in 1989. After the dialogue in Little Rock, is establishing there's an effort to establish a meeting with the imperial potentate of the ancient Egyptian Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. And so a letter is sent to the imperial potentate from the Phylaxis Society, and they asked me well, what they were requesting was if Imam W.D. Muhammad could be there to meet at that. And of course, I mentioned that to the Imam, and he told me to handle that. And you can see briefly this here. He said, I am confident. This is the letter from the Phylactery to the Imperial Potentate, that Mustafa could help us arrange a meeting between you, the Imperial Potentate, and his spiritual leader, W.D. Muhammad. Such would be a historic historic meeting, etc. Well, I mentioned that to the Imam in California, and he told me to go ahead and handle that and keep him in touch, most certainly. And eventually we did, in that same year, have a meeting with the Imperial Potentate of the Prince Hall Masons concerning some of the mockery that we found in the ritual. And so 89 was also an interesting year. But my point is, this is Dawa that's going on. Also in 89, two other significant letters come or requests. You have in Washington the Library of the Supreme Council, 33rd degree, ancient accepted Scottish Rite Freemason, a Southern jurisdiction, and they request the book, Freemasonry, Ancient Egypt, and the Islamic Destiny. Please send the material described below with an invoice, right? They request that. Also, which we know, the Grand Lodge of London, right? We pointed this out before. They requested the book, Freemasonry, Ancient Egypt, and the Islamic Destiny. We write you to let us know that we have received that. So a lot was going on in 89 as well. Now, after the meeting with the Prince Hall Imperial Potentate of the Shriners, we took, this is a later ad, but everything went well there, and this is what happened. We made the video. Mustafa, Prince Hall Shriners, Imperial Potentate, and a quote from him. I quote from Quran, you men call your, or Mrs. Me, my statement, you men call yourselves nobles of the mystic shrine. Allah says he created all the sons of Adam in nobility. And they say, you have the Quran, etc. My concern here today is to address the mockery that appears. And here you can see what he says. There are things in our ritual that have been detected as degrading to the Islamic religion. This is something that we do not want to do, and we don't intend to do, and to keep going. Now, here in January of 89, as you can see, the statement might have come before, but we have this ad. A statement is given to me from Imam Muhammad. I know Mustafa El-Amin, and I'm very impressed with him